Okay, you guys, enough of that jibber jabber. We're only an hour in. You ready to do some Ultimate Girls Trip? Housewives into Thailand, baby! Unfortunately, Ultimate Girls Trip Season 3 does not have a catchy little jingle. Because what I'm doing is Housewives into Island, baby. That was the jingle that was so memorable from the first season of Ultimate Girls Trip when it first started. And then the second season was at Dorinda's Bluestone Manor. And it was more of a succession of like dun 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 dun. And that was cool too. And then this jingle, it feels like they've just given up. It's like ding ling a ding ding ling 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 ding ding ding. It's like a little bit of a Eastern, which by the way, speaking of Thailand, Mike White, it was confirmed today that White Lotus season 3 on HBO Max will be set in Thailand. So the rumors were true. Very exciting. And that hopefully Mike White is watching Ultimate Girls Trip to get little tips. Hopefully they put Pepsi. They have this house manager, Pepsi, that learned English, you guys, from American movies. And he's just the best. He is the best. And I remember I was at BravoCon and I went to the Ultimate Girls Trip panel and they showed the preview that actually never even got released to the general public. Like you guys got a whole nother, we got a preview with Pepsi opening of like, I want to get out of here. It's very, Leah, very scary me. It's very scary me. It was free. And I remember going, this looks awesome. And we saw like old cast members from Ultimate Girls Trip season 1, season 2, and then season 3 came out and it was like Heather and Whitney and they were fighting. And Whitney was like, the fight will be over when she stops gaslighting me. It's so great. And I was like, oh, and then it's taken this long. They, from BravoCon to now, what are we in March to finally air? But anyways, it's really, really good, but they don't have a good jingle. That's why, since it's Thailand, I just go, Housewives into Thailand, baby! By the way, if you're at work right now or around family or friends, just shout out, Housewives into Thailand, baby! Once again, I want to thank Jessica Marte, M-A-R-T-E, for helping with these notes. It was a great help. Okay, here we go. Ultimate Girls Trip Thailand episode 1. We start off with just a green screen, a blue screen, kind of like we start with Portia. Portia is back on Bravo or Peacock. By the way, when we say Peacock, Peacock is Bravo. It's all under the same umbrella, NBC Universal. Don't get it twisted. This is all the same. And also these shows eventually make their way to Bravo. It's part of the Bravo family. So Portia is starting off. She is narrating all the women who will be joining the trip. And Portia, by the way, looks gorgeous. I mean, just stunning. She's married to that gabillionaire guy and just looks like $1 million herself. Always been beautiful, but just looks, wow. But she's like, oh, I've been off TV for so long. I don't know even how to do these interviews anymore, And by the way, didn't she just do a spinoff? I was like, yeah, you do. Shut up, Portia, but it's okay. She looks great. And she's like, I forget where to look. Where do I look? And so Portia's like, so basically, I'm not on TV anymore, so it's exciting for me to come back, and I just basically get to watch shit happen. And the Peacock lady is like, yeah, you just gonna watch, you're gonna watch stuff happen. She's like, yeah, watch shit happen. She's like, I love being back on TV, baby. Yeah. So then we see a shot of Heather FaceTiming Whitney. Now this is interesting because it takes place after they shot the show and a couple days after Jen Shah changed her plea to guilty. So they had just filmed those scenes with Jen Shah pleading guilty. So she had not been sentenced yet during this. And so Whitney and Heather are in this kind of weird place still from the 3rd season of Salt Lake City, which they talk about multiple times in the first episode. But anyways, we get Heather FaceTiming Whitney and they're packing. And Portia's talking about them in her talking head going, yeah, the Salt Lake Cousins. I'm going to be on the Salt Lake Cousins. And Whitney's like, what should we pack? It's weird pressure because we can't just run back home because we're in Thailand. And Heather refers to it as the big leagues. We're going to the big leagues. Now, this isn't actually, really pay attention to Heather in these episodes because it really starts to nail down. And I listened to her Bad Mormon audiobook. And it really fills in all of the blanks that I had in not the best light for myself. A lot of people love her and will always love her, and that's amazing. But for me, it really hit home that not only is she a fan of these shows and she's studied these shows, which I always think is dangerous in a housewife because you don't really get them. You get them like playing the game of Survivor of like, ooh, on this season they did this. Maybe I could sprinkle a little of this. And Heather does this little Miss Innocent. I'm Miss Innocent. I don't know how this all works. And then in her talking head, she talks massive shit. She knows exactly how it works. In fact, each one of her talking heads is like, housewife rule number 1. But I saw how it felt like she was really thirsty to be on television, so much so that she was like, bye, Mormonism. Like, you know what? God, you're great. But, she even literally ends the book of like, praising Andy Cohen over God in a sense. And I know that it was a joke, but at the same time, there's a little bit of truth to that, I feel. And she thinks these are the big leagues because she's a fan. Like, she is like, holy shit. Like, when she meets Portia, like she's meeting Gizelle, it is interesting. But we see the Salt Lake cousins, and Portia's like, these Salt Lake cousins, I hear they're a lot of drama. And we flash back to season 3 when they were in Arizona, where they're all in the lingerie, and Heather's like, you lost me, bitch. She was just wasted. And Whitney's like, I heard you had jazz tickets by doing weird things with male body parts, Lisa Barlow. I did not do that. And Heather goes, we're not in the Book of Mormon belt anymore. In a talking head, Whitney fills us in. Heather lied about knowing a rumor about Lisa. It's literally broke everything in our relationship. We then spin off to New York City, where we catch up with Leah McSweeney, and she's with her mom. I love her mom. And she's wearing these Balenciaga Crocs, which I guess, Balenciaga hasn't had a great year. Crocs have never had a great year. Let's just be honest. And she goes, Mom, guess how much these Balenciaga clogs are? And she's like, Leah, I don't know. What are they? $50? What are they? 100? Are they $100? And she's like, no, Mom, no, these are $400. And Leah's mom was like, they look like Dwayne. You can get Crocs like these at Dwayne Reed. Can you imagine? By the way, I know everybody's going to say, yeah, when I say this, but can you imagine spending $400 on Balenciaga Crocs? Like, what is wrong with you? Stop it. Just stop it. So Portia says, yeah, I hear Leah likes to go out on the edge. She's a New Yorker, but she seems cool to me. Up next, we go to Potomac, and Portia says, if we wanted to describe Gizelle and Candiace, I would need a whole other show, she says. So we see all an editing package of all the times the Potomac ladies have bumped heads. And there is so many. I mean, that could literally fill a 6-episode series. But as you know, Gizelle and Candiace are not the best of friends. And I love that they're doing this. They even flash back to the Chris situation from this past season. And, Chris making Gizelle feel all uncomfy. And Candiace says, I don't want to have a tussle with Gizelle, on this. She should just stay off my porch and we will be fine. Which, by the way, in the first couple of episodes, they seem like they do a really good job of that. But then there's a flash forward at the end of this episode where you see they are at war with each other. Candiace also pretends to have woken up in a full beat face while on FaceTime with Gizelle, but she's like completely beautiful and made up. Like, I always hate when people are like, I just woke up, and they look like, one of those glamour shots. Like, so Candiace and Gizelle, they're playing nice over FaceTime. And Candiace then goes, will it be good to see Gizelle? No, it won't be, but it's going to be fine. And then we get introduced to Pepsi, the house manager. Gizelle talked to him on the phone, and Giselle's like, Pepsi is trying to get turned up. But we haven't seen Pepsi yet. Up next, we go to sunny Miami, and we got Marisol and Alexia. They're FaceTiming each other. They're talking about Villa Aye. That's where they're staying. And they agree that they should get the largest primary bedroom because they are the real OGs, because they have been housewives the longest. But literally, like, listen, Miami is so on top right now. It's such a fantastic franchise that it's killed it this season. But you can't, be careful with the OG stuff. Like, you literally got canceled after 3 seasons. It was great. And I'm so happy it's back, but you ain't OGs. I mean, you're OGs. No, you're OGs. But you know what I'm saying? It's different if Kyle, I don't know. You know what? I'm going to take back what I just said. They're OGs. I'm just saying, don't get too cocky. That's what I'm saying. Alexia goes, I watched Salt Lake from the beginning. By the way, I do not know how to do Alexia's voice at all. I watched Salt Lake from the beginning. I like those girls. And Marisol is drinking water. Wink, wink. She even winks. And then Frankie is in the background. And Alexia is like, Marisol is drinking water. Wink, wink. And Frankie's like, oh, geez. Poor Frankie. Even Frankie knows that Marisol drinks way too much. We come back to Leah talking to her mom about knowing Gizelle because they did an episode of Project Runway together. And then Leah hits us with the famous line that we're going to hear 8 billion times this season goes, I mean, it's 8 housewives in a foreign country. What could go wrong? So then we go to Heather, and she says, right before this, going to Thailand, I was helping Jen go to trial, and then in an unforeseen turn of events, she pled guilty a couple of days later. And now I'm getting on a plane, showing up to Thailand. Heather, did you ever know that you're my hero? You're everything I want to be. You left a trial with Jen Shaw and boarded a 22-hour plane to Thailand. Thank you. By the way, it's just so dramatic of like, oh, wow. Like you were begging to go. Are you kidding me? Stop. We get a flashback to Jen Shaw getting arrested. Dun, dun, dun. And this is when they do the song, which is not really a song for the. So we open up to all the housewives doing iPhone footage of themselves at the airport, checking into first class. We got Leah, Portia, and Marisol are all in the same flight. Portia and Marisol are drinking on the flight. By the way, if you do see a scene with Marisol, and if you don't watch Miami, let me just clue you in. You're going to see drinking. Like there's just, if you see Marisol in a scene, there's going to be drinking involved. And listen, she's one of those people where she stays pretty even keeled. She's not Dorinda, like, I'm going to tell you something now. Why you don't eat food in Blue Show Manor. Like she's not that. But at the same time, I keep thinking of like, okay, well, she's not hurting anybody. But even I'm like, that's a lot of vodka. Like you are always drinking. Like it's a fun bit, but at a certain point, it's gotta be not healthy, right? Like we should just let her, we don't say anything, right? We just let her be her. Yeah. So 20 hours later, everybody lands. It's a 20-hour flight. Alexia lands. She's like, oh, it's so hot. I left Miami to come to Thailand for the same weather. Oh my God. We see the beautiful views of the ocean, the country, and they're trying to say Phuket. How do you say the name? We see Ratong Beach where the villa is. And at 1 p.m., we see Whitney arrives at Villa Aye, A-Y-E, and she's like, off to a great start. I've arrived. Poor Whitney is just hiking up this steep driveway looking for the actual villa. Gizelle is the one to actually arrive at the villa first, and Pepsi greets her. And we see Pepsi's first confessional. And it was just, he's like, I'm Thai and I speak English. And it's not like that. It's not real English. It's Tinglish. It's Tinglish. I've learned English from movies more than 5 times. Like I watched a movie 5 times. I learned from that movie. I learned from the movie where he goes, look, I am your father. And I was like, this guy's a star. Like this guy, I'm looking up at him like Kelly Clarkson in season 1 of American Idol. I'm like, this is a star. My God, book this Pepsi guy for everything. He's so great. Little bald man. He's got a good disposition. He's smiling. He learned English from American movies. Are you kidding me? That is straight out of Central Casting. This is amazing. The place itself is beautiful. It's 8 bedrooms, 8 bathrooms, beautiful views everywhere. And Gizelle tells Pepsi, I might stay forever. I ain't leaving. Pepsi's like, good, Gizelle, good. You're not leaving. We see drone footage of the whole villa, infinity pool. It's just awesome. Whitney's still walking up that hill. Like, I can't walk up the hill. It hurts me. Villa I. Where is Villa I? Alexia comes in. She gets handed a drink. She's like, I don't want no drink with no alcohol in it. You got to give me a drink with alcohol in it. She asks Gizelle how she feels about the other women. So now we're getting these. This is what I find actually interesting. I love the kind of dialogue of like, yeah, like start talking trash. Like, come on. So Alexia tells Gizelle, she's like, Miami is bringing that Latin flavor, that Miami vibe and energy Miami has always been known for. Oh my God, I hate my Alexia voice. Gizelle says she is looking forward to seeing Heather. She goes, I guess I have the most in common with her. We're both single. We both have 3 girls. She goes, Whitney, I know, likes to drink a lot and she likes to do the splits, but in a fun way, Gizelle says. Then all of a sudden, Candiace is the third wife to show up. She walks in with this long, beautiful braids and this neon green outfit set. And Pepsi is like, who is here? Who is here? 1:45 p.m. Guess what? Poor Whitney still running up that hill, as Kate Bush would say. She's just wondering, I don't know where I am. I'm Whitney. I'm lost in Thailand. The show's film crew is shooting her as she pops a squat on the driveway because she's out of breath. Pepsi runs out to save her. She's like, you can do it, Whitney. Pepsi is here. Yay. And Whitney's like, you're Pepsi? You're Pepsi? I'm Pepsi, yes. We then cut to the van with Marisol, Portia, and Leah. They're driving to the villa. Marisol has a bottle of vodka in one hand, and she says at the same time, folks, she's like, oh, she's like, oh, my tummy does not feel too good. And she's saying it with like a huge bottle of vodka. By the way, this is Crystal Light. I do want to say that. It's a huge bottle of vodka. It's just funny when somebody says they have an upset tummy and they're just drinking vodka straight. You're like, what could it be possibly? What could it possibly? Well, we know it's not that huge bottle of vodka, but it's got to be something. I don't know. Marisol says, Portia, do you need me to drink to have fun here? Because Portia's like, drink. And she's like, in a talking head, she goes, I'm not going to lie. My personality is inside this bottle. Marisol says that. Like, it's a funny line, but at the same time, it's one of the darkest lines. I'm like, listen, I'm not going to lie to you. My entire personality is in this vodka bottle. As Gizelle, Whitney, and Candiace wait in line in the villa for the rest of the ladies, Whitney goes, I'm fangirling, meeting Gizelle. I'm fangirling. In a talking head, she goes, I'm a little bit nervous to meet Candiace because she did an interview, because I did an interview and I said that she was my least favorite housewife. She goes for the jugular, but I'm ready for it, Whitney says. Gizelle does give Whitney a heads up that she will be asking a lot about Jen Shah when the rest arrive. And I'm like, I've never been like, listen, Gizelle is necessary on these shows. She's legendary on these shows, but it doesn't mean I love Gizelle. You know what I'm saying? That's what I was talking about earlier in terms of loving housewives and disliking housewives, but that's kind of loving them in this weird way. But I love it. I'm like, finally, are we finally? Because Heather Gay ain't going to tell Gizelle no, like she told the rest of the cast of the Salt Lake not to talk about it. Yeah, we can't talk about your eye this time, girl, unless you just fall on like some cabinet. Whitney, so Whitney says, I have so many questions for Heather too, Gizelle. Back in the van, they're talking, and Portia, Marisol, and Leah are talking about who they are looking forward to meeting. And Marisol says she's looking forward to meeting Heather because Heather drinks a lot too. Classic Marisol. Leah says, well, I'm who seems really cool is Portia. And I want to meet her. And Leah says, I'm surprised Heather drinks a lot. I just thought she just acted that way. Leah starts listing her whole resume by saying all of the shows she's done. For example, I know Gizelle because I did Project Runway with her. By God, we hear about this Project Runway. I've never seen this episode. I've heard about this episode now more times than I've seen my sister in the past 10 years. Like, I mean, just Project, I get it. You did Project Runway with Gizelle. And then Leah's like, I know Portia because we did Bravo Chat Room. Remember that like Bravo Chat Room? They tried to have it on after Watch What Happens Live during the pandemic. Portia has no memory of Leah being on Chat Room, which is just Portia. She's like, really? Well, that's good. Okay. Leah tries to refresh her memory by saying, you said I should date Jack Nicholson and it became a whole thing. And Portia goes, bitch, no, I did not. Did he reach out to you? Portia's like, did he DM you? And Leah's like, no. And Marisol goes, he's 999 years old. You shouldn't. And Leah's like, no, I totally would. Whatever. Portia tells us, she goes, I'm in peace and I'm just happy to be here and experience everyone. I'm in peace. 2 p.m. Heather is the fourth wife to come into the villa. We do the cousin hug. Whitney goes, Heather goes, Whitney and I had a tough go of it, but nothing heals wounds faster than fame. Oh, no, sorry. I mean, girls trip. Sorry, I wrote fame. She says nothing heals wounds faster than a girls trip. But by the way, I do believe this is why Heather is a fascinating case study for this, because I think, and it's the case is made later on, Heather really does pay attention to popularity. Heather does pay attention to the fandom. Heather does pay attention to what is popular. And that's why it killed her that she really rode hard for Jen Shah, because Jen Shah was such an unlikable, unreliable narrator on these shows and an unlikable figure that really stole from a lot of good people. Period. End of story. And she's serving her time, which, by the way, her sentence got cut a year already. So now she's only serving 5.5 years. Guys, it is pretty easy to go to prison. You got to say, I mean, it's sad, but it's pretty easy at the same time. And she doesn't even have to pay her lawyers. She balked on paying her lawyers. I did that story yesterday. So I'm just saying that Heather does care what we think. And Heather wants to be famous. Heather wants to be famous, and you mix that with that deep insecurity that Heather has as well. If you've read her book, you know she's had it since she was a little girl. So you put all of that together, and that is just a recipe for disaster, or a recipe for a pretty good housewife. I've got to say, my whole thing about Heather is that if she really leans in, eventually, I think she could be an amazing villain, because she's almost there. She's like 3 moves away from being full villain to me. And I don't know. I know this is probably not a popular theory, because she already talks mad shit in confessionals, but somebody will one day confront her, and she's going to have to really, and she's not going to be able to just like move like Whitney of like, I'm going to just move your whole body like a Lego figure, like you can't do that. But if she could really, there's a couple things that Heather's got to watch. She thinks she's hysterically funny. She's like, I make so many great jokes. They're mid. It's okay. Yeah, they're not, it's neither here nor there. They're funnier than some of the other ladies, but that's not your thing. I think your thing is going to be kind of being a villain, a shit talker. And I think you have a decent enough, you treat this show like Survivor in a sense, and you know how it operates from the inside, because you're always self-producing. And you did it on camera last season in that stupid bathroom scene where they were like, she's like, Jen, if you don't want him to talk about you anymore, just throw a comment to my eye. We'll talk about that. It's like, no. Don't produce the show. Just be a person. But if you're going to produce a show, I think there's a good chance that Heather will and can be an excellent villain. It just depends if she's willing to do that or not. So, anyways, they're having this conversation. Sorry. And Heather goes, listen, I hope all the women are going to love me, because I am their biggest fan. And I am hoping that they will overlook the fact that I bring the glam factor down. So I'm going to make up for it with a lot of jokes. And now here's the weird part. In Heather's talking head, I don't know if this was like production doesn't like Heather or something like that, but she's wearing what appears to be my mom's back patio furniture covers. Like my mom's wicker back patio furniture, the weird, ugly looking cushions. Somehow she stole those from my mom, and she's made a little dress out of it, and she's wearing those in her talking heads. And also the chair looks like the chair I sat out in front of, like Raquel's lash lounge. It looks like it's the weird, like take a look at it. She looks like she's wearing shorts, and then like this dress is just like Velcro to her. It is the weirdest. I'm not even into fashion at all, and I even thought it was weird. Gizelle, by the way, wastes no time in asking Heather about Jen Shah. Good. And Heather's like, oh, so Whitney gets a pass on this, but you ask me. And Giselle's like, no. She said you were with her. And Heather says, okay, yeah, I ride for Jen for sure, but I'm just still processing the case. And Whitney goes, that's what I want to know. What's going on? And Heather's like, well, Jen swore on her family's life that she was innocent. She said they were bullshit charges. And Giselle's like, yeah, but you knew she was lying. And Heather goes, well, I didn't know, but she was about to go in, and, and we were texting, and she said, I'm guilty. And I was like, I don't know what changed. I just don't know what changed. I just don't know. Heather acts like the biggest innocent at all, like half the time, and half the time, smartest person in the room. And Alexia is there. She's like, the 30 years. When you're facing the 30 years, you plead for 14 years. That's what changed. That's what changed. Jen called Heather 5 minutes before the court hearing. And like I said, told her because she didn't want her to be blindsided. Hey, by the way, 5 minutes before I do this, I don't want you to be blindsided. That's not protecting somebody from being blindsided. And she lets us know she's still writing for Jen. I'm like, Heather, perfect, man. And by the way, you already know they're filming Salt Lake right now. And I predict within the first episode, she'll let us know that she's not writing as hard for Jen anymore. The thing that frustrates me about this is read the fucking case. If you read the case, the court documents and all of that stuff, you would see very clearly, it wasn't like just a guessing game. You saw the Southern District of New York did a really good case where they showed you exactly how Jen Shah was involved. They show you what apps she used to encrypt information. They showed the web of people that was around her because it wasn't just Jen Shah, but it definitely was Jen Shah as one of the leads. And you saw all of it. You saw that she was cognizant of it. You saw that she knew it was bullshit. Like it was really, really dark stuff. And that's why I hate when Heather acts like this dummy all of a sudden half the time. Like, I don't know. And I'm like, you could have read. If you really cared, you could have read. So Whitney in a talking head goes, Jen's a master manipulator. It's very easy for her to lie and put on this facade. And you get so confused. You don't know who the real Jen Shah is. And the girls are like, she knew. Jen Shah knew she was guilty. And Heather goes, well, she either lied to me 5 minutes before she went into the courtroom or she lied to the judge. And I was like, you dummy. Okay, so now you're saying Jen lied to you when she said she wasn't, like, she's like, hey, by the way, I'm changing my plea to guilty. You think that's a lie? Jen did the noble thing and lied to you, even though she actually is not guilty. It's like fucking Inception. The thing eats itself. It's so confusing. And Giselle goes, you're still riding for her? She lied to you for a year and a half? And Heather goes, yeah, I mean, she did. And I was like, God, maybe this will knock some sense into Heather. And, the only thing that seems to like really register for Heather Gay is famous people telling her stuff. So maybe if enough famous people tell her that she is cuckoo for writing this hard for a known liar criminal, then maybe she'll actually listen. And Gizelle goes, loyalty is great, but when you realize you're loyal to the wrong person, you need to know when to restart, abort. And I was like, Gizelle, am I seeing eye to eye with Gizelle? The producers ask, Whitney how she feels about, the producers ask Heather how she feels about not being able to put down her bags and getting asked about Jen immediately. And Heather goes, I like it. I mean, I'm glad that they have something to say, as long as you don't ignore me. And then she goes, and she laughs maniacally like that. I was like, oh my God, she's even get the maniacal housewife laugh. In walks the rest of the girlies. And they're all hugging and all that. And Heather says this offhanded comment to Leah. She goes, I want to not drink to support you, but I also want to drink. And Leah goes, don't worry about me. Are you crazy? You're fine. And then Leah ends up talking to Heather and telling Heather that she's like, oh my God, you seem like the kind of person that is like manipulated by narcissists, because Heather's relaying that they were just talking about Jen Shah. And Heather goes, oh, okay. And then Heather literally says, every good relationship I've been in has been with a narcissist. When I'm manipulated by narcissists, it's the most fun I've had, the best sex I've had. She's literally saying this in a talking head. She's like, and I'm like, finally, somebody is championing the narcissist. Finally, somebody's saying, hey, narcissist, you ain't that bad. I love you, narcissists. You're good. You're okay. Heather Gay likes you. Best sex, most fun. Sure, they lie to you and completely destroy some of your confidence sometimes. But other than that, narcissists need to be celebrated. Heather Gay says it's all right to love a narcissist. And then Heather goes, I'm an easy target. I can't change it. I'm like, yeah, you can change. Stop being a dork. Pepsi takes the ladies outside and shows them shows them the house. And they have like this thing called a spirit house, which is a little house outside for the spirits. And everybody's like, woo, spirits, no. But they all pray and they're going to ask the spirit for what they want and set their intentions. And they're going to give the spirit house flowers and some food and talk to the spirits. While Gizelle is praying, Candiace lifts up her skirt, her bra's out, and she starts wiping her boob sweat. Really, by the way, Jessica took that note. Really great great detail there. Portia says, does this have to do with Buddha? But Portia says, okay, I want sisterhood. I want to set my intentions of what I want. I want sisterhood and I want some good food. And Candiace is like, I want to keep my edges. And Gizelle goes, I want to have fun and get to the drama, get to the nitty gritty drama. And then Marisol goes, well, I'm calling Mary J. Blige for no more drama. I was like, thank you, Marisol. It's a great reference to a Mary J. Blige song. Whitney goes, I want to protect our families at home and avoid the drama. And Giselle's like, what? Alexia and Marisol, they're speaking their Spanglish, like, and, that's what just they do. They're best friends and they speak like, they kind of just slip in and out of Spanish sometimes because that's just what they do, and Gizelle sees this though. And she thinks they're talking shit about Gizelle. And she goes, whoa, 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 whoa. What are you doing? No Spanish, no Spanish. Come on. No, just English. Alexia gives her prayer and then tells, and by the way, that's what she said in Spanish. She said that came from my soul, what Alexia's prayer was. And, but then Gizelle said, my rule is no Spanish. But the Miami girls, they handle it actually really well at first. They're like, okay, sorry, it just comes out. We don't even notice it. But in the translation, the editors do this troll where they slow it down and they put over like, Giselle's a horrible person. Like they truly are talking shit about Gizelle. You got to see it. You're going to love it, you guys. The women get their assigned rooms. Portia gets an amazing room with this amazing view, this amazing tub. And she's like, thank you. Bravo. You're really trying to win me back. And the producer's like, this is actually Peacock. I'm like, Leah, by the way, gets the worst room and she does not let that slide for one moment. She thinks Pepsi did it on purpose, that little Pepsi is out for her to get her. She thinks she got the worst room because her show is not airing. So Marisol, by the way, her tummy is still aching. By the way, my tummy was aching earlier too. I wasn't even drinking vodka today. And by the way, I was laughing about this because I really had a bad stomach ache. And I was in the bathroom doing my other job, just being on the toilet. And I remembered the time my mom told somebody I'm very close to, I was in the bathroom and my mom told her, she goes, hey, sometimes I'm worried Ryan has, sometimes I'm worried Ryan has hemorrhoids. He's in there so long and he has hemorrhoids. Tell somebody that she's met for the first time, a stranger to my mom that I'm close to, tells her that I have hemorrhoids. And usually half the time when I'm in the bathroom, I'm making stupid memes. Yeah, it's visual hemorrhoids. I'm making visual meme hemorrhoids, but I do not have hemorrhoids, Mom, if you're listening. So Marisol's tummy's aching. After the airplane, the long flight, it messes up your stomach. And then, you don't want to drink the water there. And Marisol is desperate to like get her drink on and party. Anyways, Leah comes up to Pepsi and asks why he hates her and gave her the worst room. And, she's like, did I offend you, Pepsi? I just wish I had a view. And Leah goes, I don't want to pull a Ramona and complain, and I was like, isn't that funny that Leah, like the older we get, maybe she will turn into a Ramona type. I thought that was interesting. Portia remembers doing chat room with Gizelle. She didn't remember with Leah, but she remembers with Gizelle and they clicked working together. Portia addresses all the tweets that Candiace has done saying like, I heard she's a mess on Twitter. I don't know. Everybody says I'm not going to get along with her. By the way, also Portia had a great moment when she did see her room and she saw the bath. She's like, oh, if my husband was here, it'd be Pretzel City. I only imagine Pretzel City is when you're intertwining your bodies in all these Kama Sutra ways. By the way, when I have sex, it's wild. Like, have you guys ever heard? I think it's like a foreign move. It's called missionary, and then just passing out. Sorry, I don't know. I don't know what's gotten into me. Anyways, Portia says, no, or Gizelle said, no, Candiace is fine. Candiace is going to be fine. Don't worry. Candiace asks Whitney how she's doing with her cousin, Heather. And, she's like, yeah, how are you? I hear you're beefing. And Whitney confides. She's like, it's fine. We just swept it under the rug. It was a hard season for us, the Jen stuff, but I don't get the same loyalty that she gives Jen Shaw. And she followed her all the way to court, but not me, nothing for me. And they're like, oh yeah, that could hurt. That could hurt. Heather, by the way, follows Heather is in another room with other girls. Candiace then warns the girls to not trust Gizelle. She's like, she will do or say anything, whatever. Just she'll do it just to have it in her back pocket. She'll rat on you, and don't tell her any secrets because she'll just run to the press. Which, by the way, I was like, I was kind of sad she said press. I was hoping she was going to say the blogs because I always love on Potomac. She'll be like the blogs, and I'm like, what blogs? What are we talking about? Like, I always think about blogs like Perez Hilton back in 2005. Like, what blogs? Like, oh, we're so far past blogs. She's like, don't tell her your business. Do not tell her your business. Portia and Gizelle are talking about Jen Shah. And they joke about finding out the tea about what really happened in the trial. And Portia says, you know, we haven't even had our first lunch, and you were already wanting to grill her about Jen Shah, Gizelle. And Portia's really funny. She'd be like, I'd be like, fuck you, bitch. She's like, she can't tell you, fuck you, bitch. Don't drop the soap. You don't even know her last name. I don't even know what any of that stuff meant, but I was laughing the whole time Portia did it. We cut to Candiace saying, you know, we are going to be fine. This house is going to be dedicated to chaos, but we will be fine. Then Gizelle, back on that saying, Gizelle says, Whitney got the tea. We need the tea. And she's still talking to Portia. She's like, we got the tea. Whitney got what's her name? What's her name? And they're like, Heather Graham and Whitney Houston. Heather Graham and Whitney Houston, which is hysterical. It's Heather Gay. And you know, why am I blanking on Whitney? I'm like, Whitney Port. I'm so tired. It's so late. It's 1 a.m, you guys. My God. So Portia's, wait, by the way, I read this next note. I'm like, I didn't write this note. Jessica wrote the note that Portia's body looks amazing. It does look amazing, but I wouldn't have wrote that note because that would have been weird coming from me. But it did look amazing. Marisol's stomach's still hurting. Heather starts chatting with Gizelle and Portia, and she goes, hey, I need help getting Leah drunk. Let's get her drunk. And Portia's like, no, she doesn't drink. And Heather goes, the whole challenge, that's why it's a challenge. It's not going to be easy. And Giselle's like, that's rude. What are you talking about? Leah walks in and Gizelle goes, hey, how bad would it be if you drank this week? And Leah goes, it would ruin my life. It would kill me. And Gizelle tells Leah, she goes, well, Heather here was trying to get you drunk. And she's like, well, Leah goes, well, I was a drug addict and an alcoholic. I mean, that would be horrible. I would die. And Heather goes, well, no, I read your book. And Leah's like, wait a sec, you read my book and you still wanted to get me drunk? My book is about addiction. And if you read my book, you should have compassion and not be encouraging or scheming for me to have a drink. She's like, I'm shocked. That's not funny. Don't make jokes about somebody relapsing. And Gizelle goes, well, now we know. I'm glad we checked in. And Heather is like totally thrown over the bus. I was like, boom, you are in the big leagues now. You just struck out. You just got Gizelled. What are you talking about? What do you thought it was going to be funny to get somebody drunk? Also, I read Leah's book or listened to Leah's book, Chaos Theory, a couple of weeks ago, actually. And it does talk about her addiction, but that wasn't the big takeaway of the book for me. I mean, whatever. Heather says in a talking head, she goes like, that's housewife tradecraft 101. And I'm just a little girl swimming with floaties in the ocean full of sharks. And I've got to wise up. And I'm just so tired of this shit. Like, I don't like, this is what I'm saying. She defaults to, I'm a little girl swimming that knows nothing. Just the fact that you're like, this is housewife tradecraft 101. I'm telling you, she was like us, you guys. She was dissecting every episode like we do. That's why I'm saying it's so ridiculous. She's like, I'm a little girl swimming with, no, girl, you a shark too. You trust me. You are a shark. Marisol and Alexia brought their own drinks to mix vodka with. We cut to them in the room. They go for dinner or lunch. There's this amazing buffet of food. The food looks on point. Everything. By the way, this actually did make me want to go to Thailand. The girls start eating. Marisol says, Leah goes, oh, leave Marisol in her bedroom. She says she doesn't eat, which by the way is very funny because Marisol does not like to eat. She loves to drink. We've seen that all season on Miami. Leah's talking to the other girls at Heather about, Heather wanting her to relapse on this trip for entertainment. She keeps bringing it up. And Whitney goes, she makes jokes. And if you talk to Heather about it, she will say she won't remember saying it. And then in her confessional, Whitney calls Heather a toddler. She's like, she's a toddler, a giant toddler. When it's not good, when something doesn't go over well, she'll say she doesn't remember saying it. But if you laugh at what she says, she'll keep doing it. It's toddler behavior, which I was like, Whitney's light voice, I said that during my whole season of Salt Lake City recaps, was like, we underestimate Whitney because of her voice. We're like, it's so light that you don't think she knows what she said. But she's actually, that's a really smart observation. It's completely true. Anyways, the Miami girls are late. Stummy problems still. Marisol comes down. She's like, I'm trying to rally. I'm trying to get in there. And they all are gathered around for lunch at the table, and they're talking about the sisterhood of the housewives, the sisterhood of the traveling housewife pants, And Gizelle asks Portia how she feels about being in the fame game. And Heather starts screaming, going, oh my God, 7 million followers. Portia's got 7 million followers. Like, Heather pays attention to this shit. And Portia's like, well, the first year, I got super famous. It was crazy, and then that was the first year I had to get an Instagram, and it was crazy. I started the second year, I got a divorce. And at one point I had more followers than I had money in the bank. And then I realized I had to monetize. So, I started doing club bookings, and then over the years I needed a business. And then all of that happened. And then, I got married last year. No, she didn't say it. She's like, then all that happened. And then, I wanted to retire, but my brand had to stand alone from the housewives. But you never can betray the brand of Housewives. She goes, never betray the hand that feeds you. The show is a sisterhood. The show is here for you. And I thought that was just one of the damn brilliant paragraphs I've heard all year. Is like, that was brilliant. Is that she's talking about being cognizant of her brand, but not in an annoying way. And she's like, I realize my brand has to stand alone from the housewives, which, by the way, that's what Lisa Rinna is trying to do right now, too. She's trying to, and I don't think she planned on not doing this. So she's all of a sudden trying to kick it into overdrive to say, okay, what is my brand? How do I really laser focus this brand? What is this brand? Is it just me showing up to a bunch of fashion shows? Or what is it? What is this brand? And that's what Portia had to do when she's like, but also I loved is that never betray the brand of Housewives. Never betray the hand that feeds you. The show is a sisterhood. And that's where I think Lisa Rinna has made a big mistake, because she has been kind of bad-mouthing the show and saying how bad the show will be and stuff. And that shit will fly. Like, Andy will let you get away with a lot of that stuff and still have you back. But you don't bite the hand that's fed you for so long. Especially with Lisa Rinna, this gave Lisa Rinna a career resurgence, period, end of story. And Lisa's like, yeah, the show gave you everything. Why would you drag it through the mud? Which is funny that Leah says that, because I've heard Leah drag the show through the mud so much. And, Gizelle asked Leah, do you regret it? And Leah's like, no, not at all. She's like, but I did have a bad season, and I don't know what's going on with the show. I don't even know if I'm on the show. She just says she doesn't know what's happening on the show. And then we get a flashback to Gizelle FaceTiming Heather about Whitney, and Heather letting Gizelle know that her and Whitney had a rough time this season. And Gizelle had asked her, is it her issue or not? And Gizelle brings that up in front of Whitney. So, once again, throws Heather completely under the bus. And in a talking head, Heather's like, I'm like, hello, in her couch cushion outfit. I'm like, hello, Linda Tripp. You might as well have told me you were recording our secret conversations that I thought we were taking as friends. I'm like Monica Lewinsky without the semen on my dress. Womp, womp. And Heather goes, there's residual issues because, we broke up. We were in love, and we broke up on season 3 of Salt Lake. And Whitney goes, everyone hated Lisa Barlow in the beginning of the season. And then in lingerie, my drunk ass got these rumors out about Lisa Barlow. And we got a flashback to that night of Lisa, do you do things for jazz tickets for men's private parts? And Lisa's like, are you crazy? No. And she's like, in that moment, I needed Heather to validate that she knew what I was talking about with the rumor. And Heather goes, I never heard it. I said, Whitney, you're acting drunk. You're acting crazy. And by the way, I remember watching that episode. Heather was fucking just as drunk, if not drunker, than Whitney. Don't act like, oh, you were acting drunk. Have you seen you in that scene, Heather? And Heather's like, no, you called me a drunk and pushed me into the window. Remember that? She literally ah! And then we see that flashback where, Heather's like, you lost me forever. You lost Heather Gay. And all the girls are like, what? And Leah's like, whoa, I need to watch Salt Lake. And when he's like, do you feel like she's done more for, no, sorry. Gizelle asks Whitney, she goes, Whitney, do you feel like she's done more for Jen than you? And Whitney's like, yes. And Heather goes, well, I don't appreciate being gaslit by Whitney. I know I show up for my friends. I showed up 1,000% for Whitney. I never have not had your back publicly or privately. You know, when she came on stirring the pot, trying to make a moment, and Whitney goes, we were filming a TV show. And then Heather's like, oh, then you chose the show over me. And that's a conflict of interest. And that to me is compromising your fucking character. By the way, she's trying to make some point. She's trying to get all hyper and trying to get the girls on her side, Heather. But Whitney's like literally like, we have to say we are filming a TV show. And you did know this rumor. And then Heather's like, you chose me over the show. I'm like, Heather, you've chosen the show plenty of times. And if you read Heather's book, she even talks about choosing the show, even over her religion. So it's wild for Heather to say this, in my opinion. Alexia says, if you did it for TV, Whitney, that's fucked up. That's fucked. Like Alexia takes Heather's side, and Heather goes, I never thought you would throw our friendship away for a TV moment, and you did. And Heather's like, this is ridiculous because she didn't even use this logic during the reunion. This feels like so made up. Heather in a talking head goes, you know, we believe a lot of crazy stuff as Mormons, but this rumor for Lisa Barlow was just too damaging to participate in. You know, and my integrity as a gossiper is affected by this. And I'm like, your integrity is already in the trash can. What are you talking about? My integrity as a gossiper. Don't act like you're all on Lisa Barlow's side. You know, and you know, Heather's like, if I blindly say it's true, it's not going to be true. Or so, I don't know. And Whitney in a talking head goes, Heather cares about looking good for the show. She just handed me the grenade, took the pin off, and it blew up. And she walked away before the shrapnel. And that's why it hurt so badly, because we are family. And Whitney says, I pulled our so I don't even know what I typed here. My typing was so bad because I was going so fast. And he's like, anyways, Gizelle realizes she's really struck a nerve. So Giselle's very happy with herself. She goes, okay, we're done. We're tabling it to cousins. Giselle in a tiny head goes, I love a good back and forth, but I am sick of it. It's giving me indigestion. That's a talking head, but Marisol would probably be like, me too. Then the producer tells Gizelle, goes, you started it. And Gizelle goes, I know. I mean, listen, I don't know why Gizelle bothers me so much on Potomac, but I kind of like the shit stirring here. I don't know. Pepsi goes, ladies, you've got to get dressed. Be in the lobby at 7:30. We are going to get you all dressed like Jane and Tarzan. You're going to the jungle. The women are off to dinner in the jungle. Pepsi gives us his first impression of each of the ladies. The producer's asking him, and he's like, Whitney, beautiful smile all the time, very kind. Gizelle, funny. And she's always, Pepsi, Pepsi, Pepsi. I need orange juice, Pepsi. Portia, wow, 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 wow. She can wow. You know, party all the time. Oh, Heather, quite like a princess. Everything has to be perfect. Alexia, rapid, never stop, never stop. Your Highness Leah. She's calm, but she still has a secret in her. But Pepsi will find out what that is. And Marisol, so beautiful with her dress. You have to say, wow! And another princess too, Candiace, superstar Candiace. Oh, I just love Pepsi so much. Marisol, by the way, is sitting on her suitcase with tummy problems, asking Alexia to push her on the suitcase. They're all dressing for dinner. Everybody's ready to go. Candiace is late to the dinner. And Giselle's like, she's going to be late, girl. We just got to leave. So they leave her. And Alexia thinks Gizelle should be an attorney because she likes to put people on the spot. And I think Alexia is right. Like Gizelle really, there's the thing, these highlight these characters. It highlights the thesis statement of each character. Like you even see clear how much Gizelle likes to stir the pot. Leah tells by the way, they're in two separate cars. Leah tells the girls in the car that she's in, one being Whitney, she's like, Heather is trying to sabotage me. You know, she said, how are you going to stay sober this week? But I want to support you. And then cameras go back and forth like Summer Lovin' in Greece from Leah's van to Heather's van, explaining this whole pressure to drink. And Leah goes, she's a shady ass bitch. And Whitney goes, I think fame got to Heather's head. And Gizelle goes, Heather ain't that famous. And Whitney goes, first thing that we got off the plane that I thought was weird that Heather told Portia, you have 7 million followers. I want to room with you. And we get a flashback of Heather doing that. And Whitney says, Once she surpassed me in followers, she grew tired of me. And now she only likes to hang out with me for bad weather engagement. This bad weather, they call themselves bad weather. It's like, guys, it's not like fucking like Led Zeppelin. Like it's like bad, like bad weather engagement. Like it's okay. Like it's not, you know what I'm saying? I can think of like 30 other iconic duos more than bad weather. It's she wants the bad weather engagement and do a world tour. Let's get the band back together. Bad weather. Anyway, she's like, it'll be interesting at dinner to see if she acts like she forgot what she did to you, Leah. The ladies walk up the stairs in heels, and Alexia's like, we may fall over in Spanish, talking about the stairs and the heels. But Gizelle's like, uh-oh, they're speaking Spanish again. And they sit down for dinner, and Alexia is telling Marisol she can just get a ginger ale, even though Marisol is desperate to drink. Then Marisol asks Alexia in Spanish, are you not going to drink? And Marisol says, I don't have dizzy. I have something else. Like she's not dizzy. She's got the shitties. And she rubs her stomach. And Gizelle immediately shuts. She's like, no. What are you doing? Do not talk like that. We are not talking Spanish, talking English, which is now it's getting kind of weird for even me. I'm like, Gizelle, calm down. The Miami girls once again are like, sorry, we don't even realize what we're doing. It just comes out. It's Spanglish. But if we talk about you, you'll know it because we will talk to you in English to your face. Candiace finally gets there. Her shoe gets stuck in one of the wood planks and she just ditches the shoe. And she comes in. She's like, you are some ashy bitches leaving me here. They order food and the girls are ordering and they speak some Spanish again. Gizelle looks furious. And Gizelle, turns to Candiace like, can you believe they're doing this, speaking Spanish? And Candiace is like, yeah, I love it. Yeah, so that when we watch the show, we can see the translation, watch it back, and like, if they're talking shit, great. And Portia's like, no reunion, no paycheck. Gizelle wants to do a game. She's like, this is called impression session. Everyone gives their best impression and their worst impression from the first day. So Gizelle says her best impression was Leah because of Project Runway. This is another time mentioning Project Runway. And Leah says, Gizelle goes, Leah was so chill on the show, but she came in so confident and direct and ready to rumble with that Heather thing, so you're my best. But that's kind of a shady thing that Gizelle did because she kind of brings up that little Heather thing right off the bat. So then the world, Leah brings up, then she goes, okay, well, I guess Leah brings up how Heather was trying to ruin her sobriety. And Heather goes, listen, I don't remember saying that to you. And Leah's like, roll the tape back. And they roll the tape back of her saying that. And this is exactly what Whitney said to Leah that she would do, act like she forgot saying that. And Leah goes, hey, Whitney told me you would act like you forgot it. And Whitney goes, wait to roll me under the bus, Leah. And Leah goes, you can say you support me, but you can also drink. It's okay. Leah's right in calling out Heather and saying all of this, and Heather does apologize. And Leah goes, listen, I don't need your support. Just don't undermine me. She's like, just honor me. Let's just keep it straight. It's all good. I'm just, and Portia says, well, don't take this wrong, but you, Heather, you are a fan. And Heather's like, oh shit. Like you can see Heather just almost shit herself. And she's like, so maybe that's why you say these things, because when you meet someone you admire, it just comes out wrong. Pretty much it's like you just say stupid shit when you really are a fan of somebody. And Heather, she's like, I admit I'm 1,000% a fan, but you can secretly think. And Heather's like, one day I'll be fucking bigger than you all. Leah hugs her. All the girls clap. That, is gone, put to the side. And, Leah's like, I'm secure enough in my sobriety that I'm not going to hold on to this. We get a flashback 2 years ago. The producers do a troll where they do all of the drunken Leah moments from the 2 seasons, the first season of Housewife. And Leah says, drinking would be the worst thing to happen to me. But the best impression was someone who I thought was going to be a bitch, but really surprised me. And that is Portia. And Portia's like, yeah. And Heather in a talking head goes, housewives are not dumb. When there's a pile on, you better get on that pile or you're going to be the next one to be piled on. Heather, stop analyzing housewives. Let us do this. Or just start your eventual podcast now where you analyze housewives. You know what I'm saying? Like be a housewife or don't. But like, don't sit there and give us analyzing housewives all the time. Just be a person. We'll talk about your behavior. You know what I'm saying? That's just my opinion. Candiace is like, yeah, Heather, I thought you were going to be boring and dry, but you're great. Portia says, Heather isn't my worst. I just didn't know she was misunderstood as she is. And Marisol says, okay, well, my best was Portia on the plane because we had a blast. But today, I got to say, I was a little irked at you, Gizelle, about the Spanish Spanglish thing. And Gizelle says, okay, let me give you context. I gotta let you know my twins, they speak Spanish and they talk about me in Spanish. And we get a flashback of that. And Alexia says, we need someone on our show who asks questions like you do, Gizelle, because, you don't want to talk about yourself, but you ask all the questions. We need that on Miami. And Candiace goes, that's it. She doesn't want to talk about herself. That's Gizelle. And Giselle's like, no, I talk about myself. I'm dry. I say it. I don't beat around the bush. I don't cry like Candiace. I just answer the question. And Candiace in a tucking head goes, Gizelle is a default, Gizelle is just default pout. Her wall is up immediately all the time. And the Miami girls say, yeah, they don't have a good impression of Gizelle. But it's fine. It doesn't matter. And Whitney says that Candiace is her worst first impression because she thought Candiace was mean to Ashley on Potomac when she was mom shaming her. And, Candiace opens up about her own IVF journey, but we get a flashback to that moment, which was horrible, where Candiace is yelling at Ashley and like, you brought your wide bodied ass. And then Candiace tries to say, hey, you guys don't understand. I got reverse mom shaming because I'm not a mom from Ashley. And Ashley, I think, would weaponize that because I wasn't a natural mom. I was a bonus mom to Chris's kids. And she used that against me. She reverse mom shamed me. And Portia goes, well, I don't know, Candiace. I'm going to tell you what. And Candiace keeps cutting Portia off. And Portia's like, if you would let me finish. And Portia is trying to say, she's like, well, it looked to me that when you were saying those things to Ashley, you were not yet on your mom journey. And Candiace is like, that's not it. That's not it. And she's like, and now that you are, you have grown. And Ashley goes, Candiace goes, no, that's not it. I didn't grow. I meant that to be mean. I meant that to be mean to Ashley. Then we hear Leah say again, that's the end of this episode. And we hear Leah's voiceover, 8 housewives in a foreign country. What could go wrong? And by the way, Leah's had a pseudo good episode right now, but let me warn you, that doesn't hold up. In the next 2 episodes, Leah has a bunch of horrible scenes. We get a flash forward to 4 days later. We see Gizelle and Candiace fighting. Gizelle going, hey, suspect. And Candiace goes, hi, green hoe. And Gizelle goes, criminal. And Candiace goes, criminal with your green ass. And then we cut to a scene with Heather going, I don't recall how I got the black eye. And then we get 4 days later and we see Leah on the ground with medical attention around her. And then we see a scene where all the ladies are freaking out, running away from a cockroach. And Heather picks it up and she's like, I'm going to set it free. And I was like, Heather really is used to picking up cockroaches. Jen Shaw, the cockroach in Thailand. Anyways, it's all jokes, fun. It's all jokes, folks. Anyways, 2 hours. What an episode, you guys. Whoo! We did it. What a show, you guys. I'll talk to you guys on Wednesday. Thank you. Thank you if you do like this show. If you don't, it's totally okay. Just don't listen to it. But I appreciate all of you that do. And I hope you got some laughs today. And yeah, bye.